right, so let's go ahead and get going. I'll go ahead and call the January 7th meeting of the Downtown Revitalization CAC meeting to order. We've got several folks who are suddenly taking L, so we got lower head count than we thought we would have tonight. So we'll postpone the photo until next month when we have more folks showing up. So we'll take that out of the housekeeping items. So we'll move on to housekeeping. Does everyone have their binder? All right. And now Quinn needs to follow up with you about the binders and getting all your contact info in case we need to get a hold of you quickly.
Yes, and so I think in the inside of your binder, in the inside cover, there should be one of these purple sheets. I know a couple people have had to change their information already, but if you wouldn't mind just filling this out and handing it back to me before the end of the meeting, it'll enable me to update our roster. And if any of you did not get our volunteer Christmas card this year, then also let me know and I can make sure that gets to you. So we have to have updated mailing information on file for that too. And I think the rest of the binder is pretty self-explanatory. So if you want to poke around in there, I'll take any questions as they come up. But I think it's should be a good bunch of information, and we'll keep filling this every meeting.
All right. Thanks. That brings us to item number 2 under housekeeping, which is approval of minutes. There was one proposed amendment that is on page 5. Those minutes were distributed electronically. Unless there's any discussion on the base minutes and the amendment, I'll entertain a motion in a second to approve the minutes as amended. And please, look, let's go ahead and do it right now. Everyone, go ahead and turn on your mics. And to turn on your mic, you'll see on it says tap to speak. Because this is going to be an actual vote, so you're going to have to hear your voices.
Are you called for the vote?
Well, I heard a motion to have a second.
Oh, I'll make a motion, or I think somebody else did.
So
It's
second.
been a second. Yep, that did.
All right.
I'll second it.
All right, so a motion is second to approve the minutes. All of the favors. You can say aye or you can abstain if you weren't here at the meeting. Technically, you are allowed to vote on minutes that you were not at, as long as you're happy with them. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, I'll be the abstention. Okay. So the motion is approved. Okay, so we're skipping on item number 3. So now it gives us a little extra time now to get to the process reset, the 2026 preview. So it's been 6 months since we started this process. It's gone by fast. I appreciate everyone's involvement up to this point. We've had quite a few things happen in the community. We had 200 people reply to the survey since we started this process. Trying to consolidate and inform the city council as well as the development commission on what the city is looking for in this urban regional zone. We've had meetings with CIO folks. We've met with business owners and developers in the area, and we've had booths at things such as summer concerts and even Tualatin, and especially the Pumpkin Regatta. We all know that Civilis, Michelle finished her identity study. That was part of phase 1 for 6 months, and we'll be discussing that more in depth in February. But that has been done. Also made it through the 4 of the 8 classes at U of O. I was got the opportunity to attend. It was on.
Yeah, the tutorial. Yeah.
All right. So a lot of us got to attend, one or more of the events that either here in Tualatin or at U of O. We've got more classes on tap. A little foreshadowing is there's one Friday at the Tualatin Library. We'll announce a little bit more that the next class is coming to town that will focus on our urban renewal zone. But the thing is, we still got another 1.5 years worth of work. We're basically got our toe in the water a little bit. We've got a lot more to go. And we've heard from folks so far, and we've been appreciating the feedback on how things have gone so far. And it's 2 themes that Kristen, Valerie, and I have heard from many members of the committee. One is to get clear on what this committee actually does. If there's some kind of misunderstanding what this committee's purpose is, and you've asked us to lay out, what the process is going to be on how this urban renewal zone advisory committee will work, and you're going to see that tonight, and the ability to provide input and ideas, and maybe disagree with things. That's all going to be coming. That hasn't happened this last 6 months. It's been basically one-way direction, basically a fire hose of information coming at you. We're now saying, you know what, we're going to slow things down. We're going to take time to discuss things, take things in manageable chunks. It will stretch out our timeline a little bit, but we think it's worth it to get it done, to do it right and get everyone's input into this process. So at the very end of this process, when we get to the point where, code is being changed and zoning is being changed, we're all happy with the direction of where we're going to be going. We also heard that, we need to have better communication within the group. There's sometimes people don't communicate as much as we want. We want everyone's opinion. Don't be shy. The typical things, there is no bad idea. If you have a different idea or you disagree, don't be shy. I mean, that's the thing. If there's something we're going on a path and you think is wrong, let us know. Or if there's something the group is thinking about, bring it up. We want to hear those things. So does that sound, those two themes sound right? Because we did have quite a couple, 2-3 meetings about this based on feedback. And what I want to do is open the floor to discussion on how things have gone so far. Are we getting this right? We're going to talk about the reset. You're going to see in your book, we have a path forward, agenda items, pretty much charted out for the next year and a half. But two things I want to mention is that, again, the Civilis report, I know was very controversial. There wasn't a lot of discussion about it. We will be discussing it in full in February. So if you want to talk about Civilis report tonight, that's fine. But be aware that, we are going to dive into a lot next month. And we're going to get into the practice of, when you want to speak, the typical thing we're going to do now is, raise your tent up, and then I'll recognize you. Just make sure when you're recognized by the chair or the co-chair that you turn your microphone on so you can be heard, because Corinne is saying that Zoom really won't pick up your voice unless your microphone's on. So turn your microphone on, be loud, be proud, don't be shy. So with that, open to the floor of what we're thinking about the reset, taking more time, taking it in bite-sized pieces, and not just sitting here and listening to things and having no input, and do a better mix of listening and cooperating and doing things, so that you're not just sitting here listening to a presentation and rubber stamping. No one wants to waste your time doing that. We do want your input. We want your thoughts and ideas, because that's why you're here. So we respect your opinions. So with that, floor is open. Just turn up your table tent. All right, Kathy.
Okay, I think the structure of the meetings is what really needs to change. Tonight, it's the first time I knew you were the chair. I mean, it's been confusing.
Right.
And the second thing is, there are some real experts in the room, although I think the housing person isn't here tonight.
Right.
I want to hear the high school's opinion. I want to hear the park's opinion. I want to hear the opinions of business groups, of the CIOs. It just felt like we were getting reports. And when the recommendation list came out and the report, now I have too much time on my hands, I admit it. And I went through her report, and there's some serious assumption errors that we now have in color and are printing and are giving to people. And I think we should have had an opportunity to talk about it. And now it's here in our binder, as though it's the gospel, and there's errors. The other thing that I am concerned about, and I think Susan Novak may have spoken to you directly about it. She couldn't be here tonight because she's ill. We probably should have developers or brokers in some sort of format with us Now, they're not going to have time to spend 180 or 180 minutes in a meeting or 120 minutes in a meeting. We have to use them, but the other is that we need to market to outside of this area, and it takes years to develop those relationships. And I feel like we're putting it off because we're going to have this planning cycle. And then finally, I made recommendations that I'd like to see addressed right away on signage. And I'd like to find a forum in which I can do that.
Okay.
So Susan's comment on developers local, my comment on international money, because nothing is going to happen unless the projects have a market value and an investor. Otherwise, we're just going to have cute models and reports. So that's
Okay.
my feedback to the whole group. I'm wondering, does anybody disagree with my points? Am I off base? Because I'd like the group to have a chance to, I think if we're going to advise you, we have to have that opportunity. So that's my point of view, but I'd like to hear from everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Others. Chris.
I think I generally agree with what Kathy said, although I don't know the specifics of the issues that she's bringing up. But I did want to, basically, I made this comment before, I think, to Quinn, is that, you know, I was really impressed when I went to OSU. We did go to OSU, not just U of O, just to make that clear. That there's so many like significant experts that were at that meeting, and they really know what they're doing at levels that are way beyond what any of us, you know, no offense, but any of us really know, you know, in terms of that was just, you know, architectural design, right? And so my concern has been is like, you know, can this committee bring a lot to the table that is very specific about what should happen and the way it should look and all that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Right. You know, so how do we bring in expertise of those kinds of people that have that kind of design knowledge? I do think we can bring the voice of the citizens, you know, and I tried to make an effort to ask my fellow citizens, like, what do you want, you know, in downtown? And so hopefully I can continue to communicate that part of the vision, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to the committee at all. I'm just saying that I'm not sure I have any, like, you know, you should build this type of building kind of thing, you know, to offer to you.
Right. And that, I think part of that, to like you're saying, is when we get the reports from U of O and from OSU, that we're going to go through those monthly as they come. We're going to spend time on each of those. And that's where I think we're going to get the expertise you're mentioning, is that when we dive into these reports, because we got the presentations that we went to, but now what they're doing right now is making that into a formal report. So each of those 4 classes, we're going to get 4 reports, and that's where we're going to dive into those 4 reports and, you know, dissect, you know, what is good, what's not good, what could we get more information on, and then, you know, I'm assuming the students and or the faculty that wrote the report will be available for follow-up questions, and that's where we'll avail ourselves of that
Right.
resource that you're talking about.
And I would follow up in the sense that at OSU, I think the students did a great job for students. There's no way that building should be built in 12 of them. Okay. It would be destructed by somebody within days.
Yeah.
Right. And but that's okay. It just showed me though that there are experts, right? They're not the students per se, but there are experts, because the whole crowd of, you know, the professors and local people that were there, they know what they're doing, right? But, you know, the students are learning. You know, I've been in that role too. You know, you learn.
Yeah, and you know, in the conversations I had, you know, when we went down to U of O, when we get the presentations, you know, half of it was like, no, but half of it, huh. And the 3 of us were discussing most impressive was the business school. I mean, the business school folks, they nailed some stuff. And you know, of the, not to put the other presentations down, you know, there's a reason that group is, you know, that consulting group is set up. So when we start getting these things, we're going to get more. Yeah, because none of us are going to be structural engineers who can know how to build anything in a park, but we could tap into some ideas that they have and then run with it, bring it on, developers and stuff like that, or construction companies saying, that's something you could do, in the riverfront park. Other things, other ideas, questions, comments. The one question I have is to Kathy's point about developers and the like is, I know Sid and Quinn are talking to them. They're aware of what's going on. And one of the concerns we had, because early on, David Amami and his sons were coming. The Cobalt group was interested. And I think they've taken the point of view, like they're not going to come to the meetings, but they're involved. So I know we're talking to them. Sid's got his tent up. I know especially David and his sons and Cobalt have talked to me directly about waiting for the opportunities and what's going on. But I don't know if it'd be weird to have them in the meeting if they'd even attend, because almost like a conflict of interest kind of thing, but definitely have them involved. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I mentioned it because it's something Susan
Yeah.
spent quite a bit of time with
Yeah.
me on. I'm more interested in reaching beyond
Yeah.
those areas.
Mhm.
And it takes a long time to develop those relationships. And the blighted area has not been developed for 30 years. There's a reason it hasn't been developed. And so it's going to take something very substantial
Mhm.
to get it going because there's all kinds of barriers.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So that was my point.
Yeah.
And then also on the U of O, I went down to Eugene with you.
Yep.
I was so impressed
Mhm.
with those students. I thought they worked on it for 10 weeks, but it was actually what, 6 weeks or? Hmm? 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
I was very impressed at some of the creative
Mm-hmm.
ideas those students came up with. Some not so much, but there was a real, they used examples from Oregon.
Yeah.
And they were right on
Mhm.
some stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the wrap-up report, but that's in a tape that we can all view.
But well, some of the presentations were taped. But one of the deliverables of each of these projects is a formal report they're going to submit to us. A
Well,
paper one.
I recommend everybody on the committee who hasn't heard them
Yeah.
to spend time with it because there's some good stuff.
I think the one that did not get taped was the OSU one.
And that, of course, is
Yeah,
Those beavers can't figure out technology. I don't know.
come on,
But-
be nice now.
All right. So Sid, you had yours up.
Yep. I just wanted to shed a little more light on kind of the developer discussion component of it. And if you'll recall, kind of one of our goals for this process is is it better? Oh, okay. It's okay. One of the goals was looking back at the last 15 years, we have not had new development or investment in the downtown in 15 years. The last building that was done here was the Robinson Crossing, which is on Seneca and Boone's Ferry Road. So why are we not getting more attention in the downtown area? Because the downtown is ripe for redevelopment. There's so many great opportunities in Tualatin, and part of the work that we're doing on the city side is really getting that word out to developers. And so, even before I took this job on, I looked through my Rolodex and I contacted every developer, every engineer, every contractor, every consultant that I knew, and I said, "Hey, keep your eye on this process. This is what we're doing, and in 24 months." Our goal is to help reduce risk for developers so they can invest in the community, give them some certainty as to what this community wants. And that is what that first phase of this process was, creating this community identity. What does this community want to be in the future, right? And then that next phase that we're going through is what could that look like? And that's why we're working with the University of Oregon, going through these design charrettes. And that's where I see the development community getting a little bit involved, participating in those things as well. And then lastly, I think, which is probably the biggest opportunity for developers, consultants, investors to get involved in, is when we get into the urban design component of this process and the code design part of it, right? We don't want to hear developers coming to us after this process and saying, hey, look, your code doesn't work for us. And I look back and I'm saying, we invited you to the table to be part of this process. And so the development community is a huge component of this, investors, consultants, everyone else. And for the last year, I've been meeting one-on-one with them, and there is a lot of interest. And the other thing I just wanted to note is on the phase 3 component of it, we're looking at having a developer forum where we can share the information from phase 1 and phase 2 in advance of the phase 3 with the code development, so they know what's been happening, the different phases we've been in, and how those things were developed. And so I totally agree with you and Susan that having that component, not just the developers, consultants, engineers, investors be part of this process will help make this a success. So just wanted to throw that in.
Other comments? Councilman Pratt.
I'm wondering, just, you're having conversations with the developers, but I'm wondering if there's some like synopsis or something of what they're saying and what they want could be presented to this group. I'm not saying they have to be here, but maybe you could give like a little 15-minute spiel on what you've heard.
Uh, it might be a little more appropriate for them to be able to share that information at some
be
point.
ideal.
Yeah, at some point in this process,
Yeah.
absolutely. A lot of times when I do meet with them, it's we talk about some things that they may not want to share.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm just saying, like,
Oh, sorry.
kind of back to Chris's point on
Yeah,
expertise. We don't want to assume what they want, you know?
right.
So if we get that feedback, that's going to help us form our decisions and recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why that phase 3 more will invite them and be able to share, you get their inputs on different things. And with the architecture studio, you typically have local architects and other professionals provide feedbacks at those midterms and even in the final review as well. But definitely we'll think about a process to be able to have the professional community publicly share their comments if they're developers or others.
Since you're reaching out, could you summarize whom you're reaching out? If you aren't comfortable telling us what they say, because again, the investor world, it's beyond Tualatin, and there's a lot of money out there somewhere. And if they know there's all this undeveloped, somewhat sabotaged, blighted area without any infrastructure underneath it, but that there's a city willing to work with them. I'd like to know who you're talking to and who you're reaching out to, because it's going to take time to develop relationships outside of the Amamis and Cobalt.
Sure, I can reach out to them and ask them if they're open to me sharing some who I've met with and if there's any information they want to share.
This is on a different topic, but I wanted to go back to Kathy's things on the signage right now. Like you're saying, it's a 1.5 year process. Right now, we're really at the high level. So I guess my question, just to be clear, is any of the signage and those type of things, are we going to deal with it here at council before this process is ended? Is that a possibility?
One of the things that is in the civilist report is about signage. Some of the topics you brought up that is frustrating the CCIOs is in the civilist report. So we'll be talking about it in February. It'll come down to usually it's funding. Is there money in the TIF to pay for any of this stuff right now? And then getting clear direction. Like, for example, one of the frustrations was the parking signs. And it's directly addressed in the civil's report about changing her suggestion is changing the parking signs more to what the CCIOs want versus what they're in now. Is that something the TDC would be approving? Do we have funds for? Can we get broad, approval or consent that something we want to do and it looks good? That's all things I think we could talk about as the 1.5 year proceeds. the small things we can probably look at.
Exactly.
It's the bigger ones.
Low-hanging fruit.
But, you know, I'd say from the presentation the CCIO gave us, at least 3 of those things were in Savillas's report to the side of what the CCIOs wanted.
Well,
Yeah.
they may be in a report, but they're truthful.
Yeah.
You know, some things
Yeah.
are not.
Mhm.
I mean, so really, is there any chance that they could move forward? Not to wait for all this, because the assumptions that the board made was that we're gonna have a lake in some form. Those of us who believe in protecting Tualatin parks believes that lake will still be there. We need to get the signage with ODOT started because it takes forever to get it. And then the signs on Southwest Boones Ferry are relatively modest in cost. Same with the parking signs. Now, she did recommend changing the trail marker signs, which our members brought up to us, because they said you need to have a code to know what the yellow arrow meant. In fact, they didn't even know what those poles meant, but that wasn't on our list. That would be much more expensive because you've got existing poles. But if we could move ahead, what I'd like to be able to tell the public is that we're going to protect the parks. This committee is not going to put a bridge or a road across the park as part of urban renewal. For those of you who are new to Tualatin, that's what killed the last urban renewal, was putting a bridge across the community park. That's how I met Chris. So I don't want to tell them there's going to be a bridge going across the park. And if we can show them some immediate improvements, that's going to, one of our objectives, which is laid out in this document, is to get community support. Business support will go up if you put some signs up. I mean, it won't be my persuasion. I'm advocating for what they want. So we could get that moving now. Could we discuss that in February?
I mean, because part of the stuff is in the report is some of the signage.
Yeah, but again, they don't want to wait a year and a
Right.
half. And it's modest. We're not asking for millions, although ODOT might be a little more expensive. I don't know what the costs are, but I know the timeline's forever.
Right.
So.
Quilla. Oh, Cozy Dan Quilla.
Is now an appropriate time to talk about the identity study? Because I'm not sure if you all have gotten a chance to look through it or read it all. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'm not sure, but I was wondering what you guys thought about it, if there was anything missing or if there was anything that was spot on.
The Stills report is the identity study.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we'll be talking, yep. Yeah. Right. Well,
So Kathy, I hear what you're saying, and I think we need to find a different forum for what you want to accomplish. And I don't know exactly what that looks like right now, so I want to keep brainstorming on it. Because I know we've had internally staff conversations with the folks that are managing the TLT dollars that can go towards some of that signage stuff in downtown. And we've talked internally about the parking signs. And so there's some funding sources to get at what you want to do. But the purpose of this group is like that 30,000, 50,000 foot. And what you're talking about is like sea level. So
Not 30,000 feet.
right. And that's why I want to go back and kind of talk through like what's the right forum for getting at the requests that you're making. Because it's not going to come out of one of these CAC meetings because we want to dive into these other things.
The
But
mayor wanted the CAC to see it. I had asked to go directly to the TDC because it was, in my view, Development Commission property that we were talking about. I mean, all of this is city owned, well, not city, but Development Corp property. But you thought it would fit in with this group's discussion.
the
So have we-
CCIO stuff,
Hmm?
the CCIO presentation you gave us?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's how it ended up here, Aquila. I personally want to get it going. So are you suggesting that you and I meet and talk, or what are we doing?
No, I'm suggesting that I need to kind of go back and talk with the group that they're not the tourism group, but the folks that are kind of managing some of the TLT dollars and who are working on the parking signage and kind of figure out what is the best way to move forward with some of your ideas. So
Okay, and then there's a code, only one code change, and that is to remove the prohibition of A-frame signs.
that would be part of that discussion of where is the right
That's
place for
outside of
that.
here.
Yeah, it's two parts of your code that we could find.
Okay.
So I'll hear from you. And then you have a retreat where you guys are going over budget ideas. If we knew how much these signs would cost, then you could talk. I don't know how much the signs cost. You've got a few laying around your maintenance yard, but I don't know how much it would cost to print signs. So you would need an estimate, I think.
Okay.
But to this group, it is at 1 foot, but it's all part of the same concept of revitalizing and helping businesses do better in the downtown. I mean, it's just happens to be things we could do right now. It doesn't, I don't think costs that much. At least I hope it doesn't.
That ODOT sign. Huh?
I just don't know what ODOT would charge.
Christine?
What I wanted to say was, I see, we need to move forward. I agree totally with Kathy on this, and we need to figure out how to make it happen sooner rather than later. But we also have to consider that what we do coordinates with what we're going to do in the future. So we have a nice look to it. So we don't have to come back in 2 years
Wrap it.
and rip it all down and start over.
Exactly.
So we've got to kind of look at long range on it and make it attractive, but run it by some people that would approve that.
So that the 30,000.
Yeah, get used to the microphones.
I'll do.
I believe that's why the mayor brought it here, was to make sure we were in line with this report,
Mhm.
factual parts.
Other comments? Oh, Beth, sorry.
Kathy, to your point, you left us in a space where you kind of cross-examined us of like, don't you all agree? And I just want to make sure that, like you made your statement and then you said, but I want to hear from the rest of the committee. Does anybody do you not agree? And I'd say that I don't agree with everything you said. So I want to lift that here. And that's not because I don't agree with lots of what you said. I have raised in my meeting, I think everyone was invited, right, Quinn, to have a one-on-one and raised my suggestions of ways in which we can improve the committee experience and our work together. I don't know that much of that needs to be shared here beyond trusting that to the point of we are an advisory committee. We are not a planning commission. We are not an engineering firm. It is not our job as I understand it. And I would wish to be clarified if it's not the case. Our job is not to be the ones who cultivate the donor relations. Our job is not the ones to be making sure that the engineers do or don't have what they need. Our job is to listen to what staff does and advise them. And I think we do a good job of that. That doesn't mean rubber stamping it. It doesn't mean saying yes and always agreeing. But I think that that's where I see our committee coming off the rails, is that many of us have come in with passions or interests or thoughts or things, agendas that then take us off from the ability to listen to and advise what staff has brought to us. And so clarity from my perspective is understanding that where we're at in the process of 30,000 feet is 30,000 feet, and that we do at some point need to trust the process, and trusting the process doesn't always mean agreeing with it. But I think that where I've had the most friction with our committee is feeling like we aren't able to ever move past but what are we here for? And are we going to get this done? And I don't agree with you. And I don't like this. And what are we doing? And we have to go back and reconsider it. So I don't disagree with you, Kathy, but I don't agree in all ways either. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Well, that's a perfect segue. Thank you, Beth, to what we're going to do next. Because what we've heard is that frustration of what the committee does, what we're going to do, being prepared for that, having time to contemplate and come here prepared. So what Sid and Quinn are going to do, they're going to go over the timeline and deliverables for the next year and a half. So we know where we're going, what we're going to be talking about. Quinn has taken the time to delineate each monthly meeting, what we're going to be talking about. He's got this great infographic so that we know what we're going to be talking about when, what we should be prepared for, and what our ultimate end goal is, when we get to phase 3, being able to advise on this design master plan and, having the desired outcome that we're all looking for. So with that, I'll turn it over to Quinn and Sid to present where we're going for the next year and a half.
Thank you. I'm going to keep my portion fairly short. We're going to tag team this presentation, but this is a infographic that we started halfway through last year. We continue to refine it, and we're hoping that folks can use this as something to refer back to all the time to hopefully have a roadmap as to where we are in this process and where we're going. We've completed the community identity study, and a lot of that, as the mayor mentioned, was based on trying to understand where this community wants to be. And that feedback through all the different community surveys that we've done and one-on-one meetings and community forums, the recommendations that came out of that were based on all of that information that Civilis had produced for us. And so that is, again, it's a narrative as to what this community wants, that community wants to be in the future. So now we're taking that narrative and we've given it, we're into phase 2 now, we're giving it to the University of Oregon. And how do you translate that narrative into something physical, something that people can respond to? And through this right now, we're starting the winter term with the design charrette, and that's probably one of the biggest things. And I'll talk about it a little later in the update process, but it's what is this downtown community could look like? And a lot of times you ask people, they'll say, well, I don't know, but I know it when I'll see it. And so that is this opportunity. We're going to have 15 different architecture students coming into this community, looking at a site and basing their design as a basis. Starting point is some of the recommendation or the things that they've heard in this community identity. And again, the Civilis report are just recommendations. It's up to this committee to figure out which ones are the priorities, which ones are those that are going to be forwarded to the TDC for the TDC's consideration at the end of this process. It's going to be a reiterative process because, as you know, we've done 4 of the classes, U of O classes. We have 3 more coming up this winter and spring as well. Quinn is going to get into a little more detail and talk about the opportunity for the CAC to receive those reports and provide feedback and go through the recommendations and say which ones make sense, which ones could be priorities. And there may be some low-hanging fruit that come out of there that may be one of those things that the CAC recommends to the TDC is, hey, maybe we should pursue these in advance of some of the other things. The last phase is that community design master plan. And if you want to keep your eye on the goalpost, this is kind of what we're talking about. We have 3 deliverables that are coming out of this committee. The first one is an urban design plan. And that goes back to one of the questions that was asked at one of the beginnings of the meeting is, what area are we talking about? How big is this? And what should we be including? That urban design plan begins to take all of these different elements that we're talking about, transportation, housing, environment, parks, and all of these other elements, putting it down as a blueprint for this downtown. So that is one deliverable. The second deliverable is the design standards. We currently do have design standards for our downtown core area, but the code says comply to the maximum extent practicable. And I've said this before is, some developers will see that as a great opportunity. Others will have reservation as to why would they invest $50 million to $100 million in a project where they don't know what the certainty is on the property next door to them. And so that's why this downtown standards are important, to provide some certainty and to reduce risk for developers. And again, all of these things, the urban design plan, the downtown standards are all based on the community identity, the work that's coming out of the U of O work, the design charrettes. And the last deliverable, which is, I think, something that we've been talking about here, are all the recommendations that are coming out of this process. As I mentioned, Quinn will get into the details of this next 6 months where the CEC will have the opportunity to talk about these recommendations. Next, in February, it'll be the Civilis report going through those recommendations, which ones make sense, and et cetera. So 3C is a consolidated list at the end. In 6 months, we hope to have all of those reports, a CAC recommendation that reviews all of those studies and reports with recommendations. However, that won't be the last opportunity for the CAC to take a look at those. Will those change by the end of after we go through the community design master plan process? Possibly, but that's another opportunity for the CAC to review those recommendations that you all talked about and take a look at it again in the summer of 2027. Hopefully, there will be a document that's supported by the committee that can then be forwarded to the Tualatin Development Commission for their consideration. That's kind of the overall arching thing, and that is kind of the intent of this infographic. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Quinn for a little more detail.
Sure. Now, before I talk about yes, Kathy, go for it. That was what I was going to ask is.
Looking at your diagram, you have phase 2 deliverables fall term. So do we have a site analysis and land use planning study done? Is everything on that road now done?
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at your bubbles. You
Yeah.
have phase 2 deliverables, fall term, which fall is 2025.
Right.
And then you have site analysis and land use planning study. Is that done?
The project is done. It is being compiled at this moment.
Okay. The same with the transportation connectivity?
Correct.
Okay, the downtown marketing study?
That is available and completed, yes.
And do we have it?
That is part of Quinn's presentation. And we'll be
Okay,
receiving it.
and then the River Park park design study, that's all done? So we'll get those studies?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I believe so. I sent out a big packet right before the holidays of the raw materials we received, including the recordings and the PowerPoints. But we're going to get final reports, like the mayor was mentioning, and then we will be going through each report at a specific meeting where we dive deep into the findings as a group and we discuss them and start scoring. So we'll have plenty of time to get into those. We actually have a backlog of materials to review right now, which is a great spot to be as a body. So any other questions about the big picture before I start getting kind of in the weeds? Yeah, Chris.
I just want to clarify. Will you be explaining today what an urban design plan is?
Okay. I think that's a critical thing for us to get into. I might have you do that, Sid, but don't let me forget. So I'm going to pivot to talking about what our next year looks like, the specific work that the CAC will be engaged in service of this end, right? How we fit into the roadmap. So the way I kind of frame this is in phase 1, as we've already established, you've been receiving a lot of information, whether that be orienting you to just like the process in general, or getting ideas from Michelle, or just getting all of this input through the community survey and from tabling and all of the other things that our neighbors have been sharing with us. In phase 3, by contrast, that's where we're going to be creating new knowledge. That's where we take what we hope by that point is a clear vision for what the community wants the space to be. We fuse it with what developers have told us they want it to be or what needs they have. We fuse it with the experts that Chris was talking about. And so by that phase, we've gathered all of these kind of clear visions from different angles. And it's the charge of this group to work with our consultant team to weave those together into these final documents and to make sure those final documents are representative of our shared vision, right? So going back to this middle phase, phase 2, where we're at right now, this is what I see as the pivot from receiving information to digesting information. So this is where we start to say, thank you for that idea. Here's how we feel about it, right? So very pragmatically, the way I imagine us approaching this work is with 3 different types of activities or like meetings, essentially. So the first one is what I have scheduled for us to do today, which is creating a shared set of evaluation criteria. So Michelle, in the first 2/3 of this report, I think did a tremendous job summarizing all of this community input we received and describing at a high level what some of the common threads are that run through what our community's vision is for our downtown. And so my hope is through our activity today, we can summarize some of maybe our top 5 like priorities that will make our downtown distinct. And what that offers is it offers a filter for us to put all of these projects, to run all these projects through. So when somebody says we should put a bridge over the lake, we can run it against all of these criteria and see if that aligns with our vision or not, right? So we're not just gut checking it and saying, is this a good project or not? We're saying, to what extent does this project advance our priorities for downtown? And I don't imagine that is the way that we make decisions. I imagine that is the way that we begin assessing this giant set of inputs that we're going to be receiving over the next 6 months. So that's the activity I have in mind for today. What I hope then is that meeting in February, meeting in March and beyond, we can start taking all of this information that was generated for us by Michelle and by the Sustainable City Year classes, and we can dive into it, and then we can score those projects as a group against our criteria. And that gives us a way of responding to the 50 some ideas and counting that we will be receiving. And then as we start getting some clarity as we start getting like bunches of ideas that are related to each other, right? Then we can have some deep dives where we bring some experts in, whether that be to talk about the Riverfront Park or about Boones Ferry Road traffic control. And we can say we have 10 ideas like that have been generated through this process. We know we can't do all of them and we know they need to fit together. Let's start reconciling, right? And that's how we can start making actual recommendations that will be useful when we get into the urban design plan. So I see that as kind of the three core functions that we're going to be performing over the next 6 months, with one additional layer, which is that we will occasionally break from that process to support the ongoing work by our Sustainable City Year classes, because we have 4 more classes that are starting right now, and we want to provide input to help them as they are generating the renderings for downtown or conducting other research. And so while I see this as kind of a steady, systematic march to get through the projects and digest them, we will also kind of take side quests occasionally to make sure the work that's going on is supported. I will talk more about an urban design plan and the rest here, but I want to pause to just kind of see how that plan I laid out feels. Does that seem like a good use of our time? Does that sound like a clear lane for our group? Are there any thoughts, feelings, or reactions? All right, I got 1 thumbs up, 2, 3 thumbs up, 3 for 3. All right, I will take that for the time being. I will continue to welcome your feedback as we get into it to see how it kind of all jives. Maybe Sid, do you want to describe what an urban renewal plan, or nope, an urban design plan is?
Sure. Yeah, and we shouldn't overthink what it is. It is simply a blueprint of kind of our downtown core area. It'll help define what the boundaries of that area is. If you look at our core area, uh, I would be able, I would start diagramming what the different components of the downtown is. For example, to the north of Boones Ferry Road, you have Community Park, you have Riverfront. So to me, I would identify that area as a recreational environment, natural resources kind of element to this plan. So how does that fit into the downtown core area where there's the Lake of the Commons area? Where are the linkages for pedestrian? What are your thoughts as to what would happen in the Lake of the Common areas if that was kind of a larger bubble diagram area? So it's almost a blueprint for someone who wants to understand where and how this community grows, and it's projecting into the future what this committee and the community would like to see in the future. I can provide some examples of different urban design plans. That's really the ones that I've worked with include a riverfront park area, a mixed use area of where that should be in the downtown area, a commercial and entertainment district. And so there are different kind of layers to that, and it talks about how are all these things connected graphically, and then there's a description for each of the different districts. Part of the phase 3 process is we will be looking to apply for a Metro grant to be able to hire some consultants to help us develop the urban design plan and the design standards as well, so.
So I guess what I want to understand is, when you talk about like master plan documents, they can get specific, and there is some specifics that were, at the beginning of this process with the urban renewal district of like, we have these ideas for projects, right? Are you saying that this urban design plan would have some specifics of, we want to spend money on this, this, and this, this project, whatever it is, because what you've been saying is kind of very general, like we want, this
Yeah.
area to be a park, this area to be, restaurants or whatever,
Yeah.
But I think that this, ultimately, we've got to, someone's got to spend a ton of money, right? Is what we signed up for here. And are we starting to say we're going to help decide what that money is spent on?
A couple of ways to answer that. And I'm going to start with the first piece of it is typically when you would do a urban renewal plan, you would have kind of this higher level urban design plan to say, where do you want different things? And then typically you would do an urban renewal plan that identifies specific projects within that plan to support the different elements of that urban design plan. In this case, it was a little different, and it could be done that way. And I understand why, because we wanted to get the increment going to be able to do these projects. And so we have a list of 14 different projects that I shared with the committee, and different costs over the 30-year life of this project. And so what we're doing now is taking some of those projects and how does that fit in the overall urban design kind of concept for this whole downtown area? And I'll be a little more specific. For example, in the Cora plan, the Riverfront Park is one of those projects, right? And that project is, I think, estimated $8 million of TIF will go towards that project. And it was supposed to come out, be available in, I think, 2035. Our Parks and Rec is working on that project now, right? So that 2035 timeframe doesn't work. That might be one of the things that comes out of this committee and say, that doesn't work. How can we accelerate that to be able to work hand in hand with Parks and Rec to do that plan sooner rather than later? And by the way, this helps support kind of this parks recreation kind of bubble area that we've got in our downtown urban design plan area. Is that
I
kinda-
hear what you're saying, and I
Yeah.
understand the practical realities, but
Yeah.
are we saying that we are going to come up with a new set of projects to align with the funding and needs that, this committee kind of has in mind? And that's going to be part of this urban design plan?
It'll be a discussion that the CAC will have. For example, there might be other things that do come out of this process from the CAC that will have to be couched in part of that consolidated recommendation list that the CAC would forward to the TDC. The TDC would have to take a look at it and say, how does that fit into the current quarter plan projects and $140 million funding that it currently has. And so there will have to be decisions made. What are the priorities? Let's take the clock tower again. This committee really wants to have the clock tower in there. It comes out as a recommendation right now that 140 million is allocated to those 17 different projects. If the TDC says, yeah, this is a project we want to include in there, then we'd have to look at how the funding or what are the priorities that may not happen as part of that. So
is the TDC involved in this committee? Okay.
yeah.
So basically, hopefully you're giving the voice of, you're not going to veto what we do, basically.
Yeah, this group will make recommendations that will be presented to the TDC. Then the
Right.
TDC will look at it and say, yeah, we like it, or yeah, we don't quite like A and B, but we like all the rest or whatever. So this isn't like That's said.
Preferably you would 100% like what we do.
Yeah, but-
Because otherwise, why do it?
Well,
Right?
yeah,
You're
but
just
this
gonna
is the
veto it.
advisory committee, so there might be one or two things that, the TDC says, like the clock tower, you guys
Yeah,
might
yeah.
really recommend it, but the TDC might say, yeah, that's not our priority and something else is more important. So this group's like an advisory committee, and I see it like from the TDC role is that whatever's recommended by this group should be strongly considered and heavily weighted.
Right.
So
But also, wouldn't the voice of the TDC have a role in this group, basically?
The committee serves as the advisory committee to the TDC. So just like if you would picture any other citizen committee, there's a conversation that goes back and forth and recommendations are presented.
Okay.
the one that most recently happened was the transportation system plan and the advisory, it came to us and then I think we might have made one change, but for the most part, we accepted everything, but it's like, this is what we're recommending and it's strongly considered, but there might be,
Sure,
a
right.
few changes typically.
Sid, you gave us the budget a couple months ago, and I didn't bring my file with me. Could you guys send it out again? And then remind me, in the budget, do we have any money to provide developer incentives for infrastructure costs like sewer, stormwater, and electrical and utilities and all the things that cost lots and lots of money that are buried under the ground? Is that in the budget? I forgot. I don't
The,
really
uh,
remember.
Yeah, so that's $140 million TIF revenue did include a developer incentive, which could likely be used for infrastructure improvements.
Okay, could you send us that file again along
Sure.
with all these other reports that are going to be finished up? Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
it's item number 5 in the binder here. We did include. So if you look at the one right before the yellow sticky tab, it should be
Which one?
the right before the yellow sticky tab.
Right before that.
And
At
going
the-
back to your comment, Chris,
Oh, you've got the
The-
budget in here.
the
Never
initial
mind.
project
Okay.
list, the list that was approved when we created the Cora, that's not the be all end all. Those were just ideas at the time. Knowing in our minds, we think all those projects are going to get done. It was just a starting point. Some will fall off, some will be added, they'll be modified. There was a list we had to present when we went to the counties that were involved to get this approved. But it's not it's not the black and white list that we're
Yeah.
limited to.
I that's what I understood. I just wanted to make sure that
Yep.
this idea of an urban design plan
Mhm.
is sort of an update to that list.
Yes.
That's what, I just want to make sure it was that specific.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so we can move on to the next slide. So part of this reset and looking forward to 2026 is appropriate tonight because as we look around attendance, there's been quite a few mentions of people who are not coming to the meetings, not participating. So one of the things I want to reiterate is that this is a very important committee and you were all picked to be in this community because we value your opinions, your connections to the community, and your vision for the community. So I very much appreciate. It's usually the same group who's showing up here each week, each month. But we're going to start implementing a new attendance policy starting next month. That if you have 3 unexcused absences, you'll be asked to resign. We'll find someone else. There's other people in the community who want to be on this committee and are eager to be in this committee. So if someone can't make that commitment, life has changed, other things like that, we need to know so that we can get someone who can, help facilitate us getting the message out to the community, getting community feedback and bringing it back to us, the committee, and discussing it. So be it. So one of the things, again, most of the city communities act like this. If you have something come up, call Sid, call Quinn, let them know. That's an excuse absence, but just not showing up can't be tolerated. Because that's a spot that we can give someone else, like I said. So starting in February, we're going to keep track of attendance. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because this is the same group I've seen regularly attend. But that if you can't make it, let us know. If you do have an alternate, make sure your alternate can come and take your place. So we're looking forward to doing that. One of the things people ask about is when we do get to voting, what happens if I have myself and my alternate here? The primary is the only person who can vote on something. Alternates can always participate in conversations, be in exercises and stuff like that. But when we go to a vote, only the primary can vote. Um, and not everybody has an alternate. There's only certain spots that have alternates. For example, the Chamber of Commerce is now Brian Carney is going to be added on as an alternate for Skip, because Skip has a lot of business meetings and we don't want the chamber to be missed. So Brian will be in his place. Um, uh, Dr. Welk, some people noticed he hasn't attended any meetings yet, and he's representing a downtown business. He is resigning because he just can't do it anymore. So we're actively recruiting a downtown business to take his place. We're going to have a backup for Cozy because she might not be able to make all the meetings now. She's getting further and further in her college, in her high school, high school pursuit. But I just want to let people know that some of that frustration that a lot of us are dedicated, and we're seeing that not all voices are here, that we're going to address that, and make sure that when we meet each month that the chairs are full. So I just want to, how do people feel about that? Councilor Pratt.
I just want to clarify one thing, like with the alternates. So if the alternate's here and the main person's here, the alternate doesn't vote, but what if the alternate's here and the main filling in for the main person,
They
then do
vote.
they vote?
They
Okay.
vote. Yep.
That's all.
Yep. Is there anyone you're both there? All right. And again, let's see, do I get? You go, Beth. Sorry.
Just a suggestion that if people are asked to resign or choose to resign, a quick exit survey to ask why, to get feedback for the rest of the group.
Yeah, good suggestion. All right. With that, we'll now switch gears and we'll get to item number 4, creating evaluation criteria. We're only 5 minutes behind. That's great. Quinn, you're up.
All right, this is where we get into our fun activity. Is everyone feeling good to keep going? I asked you all to prepare 3 responses to the prompts that I sent out over email. I want downtown Tualatin to be ... right? And I talked a little bit in the last portion about how we will use this evaluation criteria, but just to reiterate, I see this as serving 2 primary functions. The first is really putting a bow on our first phase of work, where we are distilling all of this community input we've heard about what people want to see in downtown Tualatin into a set of 5 priorities, right? 5 things that can kind of be our North Stars. We look at potential projects and we can constantly say, does this project advance these goals, right? The second piece is very functional, which is I'm hoping to turn this into a scoring tool that we can begin using at our February meeting we can look at one project and we can basically ask that question quantitatively, and we can take a first pass at all these projects that have been proposed to see whether they're things that align with our values. So the way I propose that we do this is I would like us to break into pairs and spend 5 minutes. Everybody brought 3 to the table. And so I'd like us to spend 5 minutes taking the 3 from one person, 3 from another person, and reconciling those into 3 total, right? And so that can happen a number of ways. You can cut, you can cut them. You can find ways of combining them. You can kind of feel out the way that's most appropriate based on what you've brought to the table. Yeah, rock, paper, scissors. Although I'd recommend at least deliberating a little bit before that. And then after we do it in pairs, then we will combine our groups to get a little bit bigger. Until we get to a point where we can have a full group discussion again. So does that sound okay? We do have an odd number, so maybe Chris, if I could pair you with Janine and Christine, and we'll do a 3-person group there, and then 2, 2, 2. And I'll give us 5 minutes to start this conversation. Good to go? All right. Don't worry about the microphones.
But my list,
Gotta write it down or something,
I can write.
or you can edit on your phone.
I have it on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first one was accessible.
Okay, everybody, that's 5 minutes. How are we doing? That group's good, I know. You down to three? You need another minute? Another minute there? Need another minute? You're good? Are you all good? You're good? You're okay. I think for this next phase, what I'd like to do is just have us consolidate into bigger, small groups. So it'd be the four of you and then the five of you. And this time we'd have 10 minutes to do the same process. I'm not being as strict this time. So instead of boiling it down to three, my ask is that you boil it down to four. And so six to four. All right, 10 minutes. Time starts now. All right, folks, nice work. And I think we made up some time on this too. So we are now at the phase where we get to reconcile the 8 that stand, ideally down to 5 here. Now, there's a couple different ways we can do this. So I figure we start just by sharing the 4 that each group came up with. Then we can together look for some natural overlap. I have told Sid that I will quit my job if I have to do wordsmithing with a group of 15 people. And so we're not going to do that today, but I think if we can get some general, if we can find our general 5 bullet points, then maybe I can put a fine point on it and send it out to you all, and we can approve them next time. So if that sounds okay, then maybe that's how we approach this. So maybe group 1, could I hear from you what the 4 are that you came up with?
Okay. So our first one, and kind of what we want to be like the overarching, we think that this should be the lens that we look through when we're looking at everything else. And I say that because we thought we could only pick 3. And so that was our umbrella. So that'll be our 4th bullet point. But a sustainability lens. And when thinking about sustainability, it's kind of all the things from making sure that we have green spaces, making sure that we have plenty of trees, making sure that we're thinking about the river and what lighting we're using to make sure that the bird migration isn't severely impacted. So it's sort of like all of the above when it comes to sustainability. The what is it called? The sidewalk, the
Pervious sidewalks.
Thank you. So like everything that we do is sort of look through at the sustainability lens. What sort of materials are we using? Is what we're doing going to be obsolete in 5 years? Someone mentioned earlier. So we're making sure that everything we do is sustainable. 2, easy to navigate and move around. And this some of us came with walkable, but we transitioned to easy to navigate and move around because not everybody, are walkers. And so we have to make sure that it's easy to navigate and move around for all. 2, creating a distinct place, and including in that distinct place, like, it's downtown Tualatin. And this may be where it gets a little paragraphy, but in that distinct place, making sure there's places to gather. It's a known place. It's something compelling. There's, I think that's about it. I think I'm mixing our 2. 4, a vibrant mixed use area that is accessible and welcoming to all. That has that 18-hour activation. And what we mean by mixed use that's accessible to all, meaning small businesses, large businesses, a variety of affordability in shopping and restaurants and housing, and then something going on at all times. Yeah, just 4 things, I swear.
This is actually exactly what I'm looking for. And I think as we pull this together, I think we're going to see some overlap. And 2, I think this does lend itself really well to clear evaluation criteria that also has context. So we don't just have 5 buzzwords that mean something. We have 5 really clear sentiments that point us. Group 2.
Okay, first we had a distinctly interesting place that, sorry, I can't read my own writing. A distinctly interesting place that attracts local community members and tourists of all ages and includes events. Then 2 was a place that is, sorry, type fast.
Sorry. All right.
He can't type his face as fast as Megan can, right?
Yeah, I know. I was going to do the flip chart and then I realized what
Okay.
I was going to try to record and I was like, no chance. So,
Okay, 2 is a place that is supportive of new and existing businesses and their longevity. That's a short one. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to go back to the first one. I should have done that while you were talking, but the idea with the word distinctly is like something that would make people pull off the road and go to Tualatin, something that's different than other towns. Like our Pumpkin Regatta is an event that's distinct and brings people in. So something that every day would bring people here.
We had to use the word compelling. That
Compelling, yeah, same idea. But I mean, so many towns now with corporate stores, you could go anywhere and see the same thing. So it's something that makes you want to come to Tualatin. There you go. And that wouldn't be Trader Joe's, no. Okay, an environmentally friendly place that is safe for walkers, bikers, and supports sustainable practices. I think we're overlapping a little here. And then 4 is a city that transforms, oh, I don't have to read that. A place that includes multi-housing units, both market rate and affordable multifamily units along with, oh, sorry. A place that includes additional multi-housing units, both market rate and affordable multifamily units, along with retail services to support the growing population. The idea being if we have people there, they're going to need services.
Excellent. Now, I see a whole bunch of overlap here. So I think what I'd like to do here, I'm going to make a copy of this and then I'm going to put it
Time
on.
for AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Just give me 10 seconds here. All right. So we can see everything. Then I would like to take, well, I don't want to wordsmith as a group. I would like to see where we can combine these sentiments. That's probably a little too small to read, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea, actually. All right, are you seeing? Oh, and then, oh, I know what you're saying. Okay, sorry. I'm not the most tech savvy person in this room. But, sorry, you said go to layout? I didn't know that either.
I do side by side.
Nice, all right. Oh, ooh. This.
Yeah, exactly. 1.5.
Okay, okay. They're all on the screen,
Yes.
mostly readable.
Yeah.
All right, help me bring these down to 5. How do we group these? Yes, definitely. That's what I'm shooting for. And we can pull like if there's repeated themes in a couple of these different responses, we can pull them out and make them one, right? Do these groupings feel logical, consistent? Does any other opinions on that of whether we kind of lump those together?
I kind of feel like the sustainable at the top is talking more about environmental and
Yeah.
getting around where, in my opinion, I think the business support should be separated.
Sure. All right, so I see 5 distinct ideas here. The way I propose moving forward is I'll take these 5, I will consolidate them and wordsmith a little bit, and then what I'll do is I'll send out an email to our group with my proposed draft. Ideally, ideally, I would like us to be coming into the February meeting with a set that's ready to go, so we don't have to spend too much time haggling over words. So maybe what I'll do, I'll send you all a draft probably end of this week, early next week, and then I'll give you about a week and a half to provide me some written feedback. I can then go through and incorporate it, send it out one more time. And if we have big sticking points, we'll take time to discuss it in February. But I get the impression we're going to be roughly on the same page. And if we haggle over commas, that's fine, right? So that sound like an okay way to move forward here? Thank you. These are really good ideas. I want to live here. I want to live in this place you just described. So great. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Or the other option, get rid of the lake. The other one,
Excellent.
reduce it in size. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. So that we're catching up here pretty well. So item number 5, downtown updates. Updates from Sid.
Thank you. Just 3 quick updates. We'll go to the next slide. So the first one is the acquisition of the Matthias property. This property is at the northeast corner of 85th or 84th and Seneca. So this project or this property came to be available over the last 3 or 4 months, and
So
we're
just stop. Okay. So it's the across the street from the Grange that has the dish antenna. It used to be the radio station. That's the property.
yeah,
It's bad. So
Here's a
yeah.
that's a splash pad right there. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So Dr. Matthias contacted us and said, hey, I'm looking to sell this property. And so it was really a great opportunity and offer by Dr. Matthias. And so we are a couple days away. We're going to close on the property on Friday. And so and here's some images of what it looks like on the inside and a couple from the outside. There's an existing house that used to be the radio station. It was also a dentist office. And then on the north side is some grassy area and parking area as well. So the importance of this next slide is how does it relate to the Cora plan and the downtown redevelopment opportunities, and it's directly associated with the 18970 Catalyst project that is identified in the core plan. And the plan itself or the project itself is envisioned as a public-private developments with ground floor retail. It talks specifically about attainable housing, but we may want to be able to include market rate as part of this development in the future as well. And so last November, the TDC made an amendment to the plan to be able to include, well, the plan requires that you need to identify what properties the TDC may purchase in the future. And so we included the Matthias property, and this is the map on the bottom. And we also included the property in blue, and I've been able to reach out and with them, and the property owner was amicable to including that property in this amendment. So if that Randy and the property owner as well. Yeah, yeah. So it's the Wang Living Trust. So they were okay with including their property in the amendments. It doesn't commit them to anything. It doesn't commit the city to purchase the property either, but certainly it provides the opportunity. If you look at it, the city owns the property, the 4 properties on the left side there. And so if we were able to really create that full block, we'd have something very similar to kind of what was illustrated above. And I think that was part of the 2022 plan that was adopted. So certainly excited about that. We continue to be in discussions and keep the property owner in blue updated as to the process and what the CAC is doing in downtown revitalization. So that this is something exciting to report. We can put one together.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful
Yeah.
because I'm not sure the group realizes how much property scattered about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the 5 public parking lots and some others. So yeah, we'll put a map together. Next one. So the second update is the 4 classes that we're currently engaging with a sustainability program. The first one is that architecture design studio, and so that which is that yellow block, the block that we were just talking about. So we'll be able to have them look at that block and say, you know, what are some design concepts? What could the downtown look like? I'm hoping they can also emphasize the streetscape portion of it, the sidewalk. How does the sidewalk look like? And again, trying to create some of these unique and distinct design themes and have a whole bunch of different options that the CAC and the community can respond to and say, oh, I like that design. I don't like the 20-story building in this location, or things like that. So that's what we're proposing for the design studio. The other 3 classes are with Portland State. First one is the floodplain, and I don't know if you can make out, but there's a light blue overlay in this area. That is approximately where our downtown floodplain area is in here, and so it's pretty significant.
Fred, go all the way down to Fred Meyer, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
That was a lake.
yeah. So nonetheless, it's something that these students will have to take into consideration. PSU will be looking at this and looking at it and say, what are potential design options or ways to address floodplain standards? Same with it's hard to see, but it's Hedges Creek, stormwater, and how can we address stormwater facilities in this area? This area all drains to the north into Hedges Creek and then into the Tualatin River.
You're talking about the stormwater facility? No, there. Yeah, this map doesn't show any stormwater facilities. Yeah. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, part of the stormwater. Yeah, it'll be looking into the whole stormwater system. And in fact, I think one of the things we might be looking at, that engineering is looking at, is potentially doing a regional wide stormwater detention facility where developers can buy into that a fee in lieu of, which would then help create a little more buildable area. So we're excited to see what other options might come out of this stormwater class. And then lastly, something that came out of some of the classes in the fall term was the importance and the connection between the north part of Boone's Ferry Road, which is that red area there, and how do you connect that to kind of our downtown core area? And so we're able to convince PSU to take a closer look at that section between the bridge and the suite property, and look at some connectivity, look at are there ways to maybe better design that to make it a little more pedestrian friendly and not auto dependent. So that'll be kind of one of the products out of that class. No, it's looking at how do you connect the north side of Boone's Ferry to the south side and across Boone's Ferry Road. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Are there other ways to design that to make it a little more accessible and pedestrian friendly? So those are the four classes that are starting up. And again, the architecture site design class is going to be here on Friday, 1 o'clock. At 1 to 3 is the tour time. We're meeting at the library, doing a short 20-minute presentation, and then we're doing a walk around the downtown area. So folks are definitely invited to that.
And do you share too that these are all 2-term projects?
Yeah. And just to clarify, the PSU classes are 2 terms, so it'll be winter and spring. So their final products won't be done until spring. And then lastly, Riverfront Park project. Again, the 6 acres identified in red that the city has purchased for the Riverfront Park. Currently, there was a request for proposals for a owner's rep that went out in late December. We've received 8 proposals for that. City staff will be reviewing those to see which ones to move forward. Both for interviews and hopefully the idea would be to maybe bring on a owner's rep later this year. To the left is a very broad timeline, starting with some outreach in 2026, design in 27, construction 28 into mid 2029.
Okay, Counselor Pratt and Chris and then Kathy.
Earlier, I'm a little confused on this Riverfront Park, that piece, because I'm just confused on the funding sources, because this is moving forward fast, I'm assuming with bond money, the park's bond money. So what part does this play in that particular area? Will there be additional funds for other projects in there later?
There is. Right now, they're identifying 3 different sources, the park bond funds being one of them, potential grants from Metro, and then also urban renewal funds for that project. Is it so? Yeah.
That's just a quick question. What is owner's rep?
Owner's rep is it's a third party that the typically cities will hire to represent your interest. A lot of times with some jurisdictions, the expertise across the broad range of things that you need to know to be able to do a park project isn't completely there. So that owner's rep will help supplement some of those things. Let's say from anything from design, contracting, land use, entitlement process, in construction. The way I look at it is it's a little added insurance, because you know that when you're engaging with consultants and contractors, their priority is their interest, where here we would have somebody that definitely has the city's interest in this. I used one when I built the city hall. It was a $43 million project, and that contract was about 500,000 over a 5-year period and as an owner's rep, and they absolutely saved more than 500,000. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Kathy.
My first question was the question she asked, because I thought the park bond was going to cover that. And so you've explained that. The second is, it's my recommendation or advice that you give a copy of the Parks Charter Amendment to all of these parties. Because I represent a constituency that will fight like heck if anything bad happens to parks, especially the businesses who are around the lake right now and actually have agreements with the TDC tied to the joint ventures, which I'm sure you are all briefed on. So I recommend that you give them a copy of that so that they're aware that there's a restriction to tearing up a park. Okay?
Our parks director is like pretty well versed in the charter amendments.
Say it again.
The parks director is very well familiar with the charter amendment.
Well, I'm sure the parks director is, but all of these agencies are drawing red lines and yellow lines and green lines, and they're
Oh, I
dreaming
hear what you're
about
saying.
what could we
Okay.
have. They need to know that there is a restriction on what you can do to parks without an approval from the voters. And if there's a constituency that opposes it, then the chances of it being approved is unlikely. So as you're looking at projects that, could happen no matter, fantasy 90,000 feet above earth, you should be aware that, or at least the people doing the planning should be aware that there is that restriction.
That's it.
All right, so that brings up to item number 6, wrap up loose ends and review of next meeting. Again, as Quinn just mentioned, he's gonna draft the evaluation criteria, send out for review. If you have any comments, please send them back no later than January 25th, so he can have it ready for our next meeting. Because what the goal is, like Quinn just mentioned before, is that we don't spend a lot of time on the evaluation criteria. We're pretty happy with it, maybe 10 minutes or so, and spend most of the time next meeting on the civility report, the identity report. So just mentioned again, Friday at the library, the community room at 1 to 3 p.m. The architectural design studio folks will be there. You don't have to stay for the whole thing. Maybe just come for the first half hour or so. When they go off walking around, then you can depart and go home and enjoy the rest of the weekend, but at least, meet the team, do some handshaking, get to know each other. Know that looking into the future, remember, one of our issues that we had concerns with was the last minute notice of when finals and stuff like that were at U of O, and how we had basically a few days notice to go down to Eugene and stuff. So the architectural design studio folks, their midterms are on February 6th. The time to be determined, and so we don't know what that's going to involve for us, but just maybe put a placeholder on your calendar for February 6th. That don't know if they're going to be here or it's going to be offsite, but that there's something related to their midterms that might want to be available for. So we're going to give you plenty of time. And one of the things that Councilor Pratt Sacco and I mentioned that we wanted added to the meetings was we've got 5 minutes left here, 5 minutes left, 5 minutes left. Just comments from the committee itself, thoughts on how the meeting went today, any lingering concerns or things you want to discuss in upcoming meetings. So basically 5 minutes to the floor to discuss, hey, how to do a check-in on what you thought, how well or not well this meeting went today. And then if we missed something, and are we forgetting about something that we need to talk about sometime in the next 16 months. But again, every meeting, we're going to have this last 5-10 minutes to debrief the meeting and think forward and do basically a self-check. So Chris, your sign is up first, and then we'll go to Cozy.
I don't know if I was first, but I thought it was a very good meeting, and I appreciate all the thoughts. I did have one little detail that I was wondering about from the summit was we were asked to record volunteer hours, and does this committee are we gonna start recording for that? And is it set up yet?
Yes, Jackie, our volunteer coordinator, who is retiring in 3 weeks, just came by
Really?
my desk. Yes, yes.
Really?
Yes, sorry, I didn't mean to break the news, but like, it's public, but like, but she just stopped by my desk today. Sorry, I shouldn't have said it. We'll make a bigger deal out of it. Yeah, yeah. Jackie stopped by my desk today and shared that this as an advisory body does count as volunteer hours. And so we want to make sure that anybody who's not in our volunteer database, which I think is only 4 of you, does get in there, and then that we log all these hours. So I will be sending out some materials here, probably in our wrap up email that includes, please click this link and log your hours here. So I'm
Right.
going to get us integrated into that system, which I was unaware of until today. So good timing. Well, good timing, Jackie. And thanks for bringing that up, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Cozy.
I really wanted to mention how I loved the discussion time that we had. I loved how we stepped into it small, and then we took bigger steps and we brought all of our ideas together. I just felt that that was a really effective and engaging way of bringing out in ideas. And it also, I guess it helped me see a more wide range, instead of the same people talking each time and giving their comments each time. Having it in smaller groups and then going bigger was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
It's what Kosi said.
All right. Anyone else? All right. In the light of shocking news, and this is off topic, those of you, I don't know if I'm late to the party, Barbara Sherman has terminal cancer. Michael Antonelli let me know. So you'll see less articles from her. She's trying to stay more, she's going to still write, but if you cross paths with her or anything, she's been in the hospital for the last few weeks. I used to run every week at Fred Meyer. It was her running joke, but if you happen to see her or think of her, shoot her an email. She's ill. It is sad. Because she's written so many articles for Tualatin Life, so. Yep. Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and close the meeting and have a good evening.